Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
John in Enfield, let's get straight to bulk of your call. 7:49 is the time. Your reaction to the Rwandan idea and indeed the Church's criticism. Good morning.
Oh, hello, Nick. Yeah, nice to speak to you. Just a quick diversion. You know that Arab spyware that they're using? It's called Pegasus, yeah?
Yeah.
And they bought that from the Israelis, yeah?
Right.
You know MBS, the leader of Saudi Arabia?
Right.
Yeah. He's got a £300 million yacht, and you know what it's called?
I think I'm ahead of you. It's going to be Pegasus, right?
It's called Pegasus.
Right, okay. So round the world goes. Such intrigue everywhere you look. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for pointing that out. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just going back to this issue, I've spoken to you about it before. There's faults on both sides, basically. If you speak to the French people, they'll say, oh, it's the British. They make it so easy for the people to come and get employment. And we go back to the black market scenario, where, it's back to this ID card system where they can just disappear and get jobs. So that's partly our fault. But I don't know if you remember, do you remember Salvini, the ex-Italian minister? I think he's part of the right wing. He actually turned a boat away a couple of years ago. Right. He was derided for that, and eventually the boat was boarded, and I don't know, a couple of hundred people ended up, in Schengen. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the issue is Schengen, because of human rights, they can't turn these boats back. Right. So in effect, once they come, you've got more or less professional people traffickers who would actually take people in the four corners of Schengen to bring them to Calais. Some of those people would be there less than a day. Yeah.
Let me ask you, because I've got to move on. Just broadly then, the Rwanda plan, as I'm calling it, you support it or not?
Well, it's something, but I'll go back to this, Nick. What we should do for the money we're spending, it's not our issue. It's the EU that should be manning their borders, turn back all their trawlers, right? Stop them fishing in our waters, and tell them to sort their borders out.
OK, a fairly robust defence. John, thank you for that. It's a view, as we say. You have yourself a safe day. Let's come to other matters. 9 minutes before 8 is the time. Let's bring into the conversation on, indeed, the Rwanda plan and other issues. Conservative MP and Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Brandon Lewis, who joins me now. I read that we are going to hear from the Prime Minister today, later from the boss, your boss later today, to get a sense of perspective about Partygate. Can you give us any more of an indication, Secretary of State, what we might hear? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, look, the Prime Minister will make a statement to Parliament this afternoon, sometime in the mid-afternoon today, depending on parliamentary timetables. Look, I haven't seen the statement, so I don't know the specifics of what he'll say, but I do know he will address the issue, as he said he would, to Parliament around the fine from the police as well.
But this idea of a degree of perspective, can you give us anything more on that, Secretary of State?
No, but I think, as the Prime Minister outlined in his own statement just last week, that he accepts the fine from the police. He outlined the context of what was happening that day, where he was a very, as always for a Prime Minister, a very, very busy working day. But he accepts the decision the police have come to, paid the fine, and has apologised for that.
And do we know whether he's likely to feature in any more of these parties, or indeed be in receipt of any more fixed penalty notices?
I have no knowledge of that whatsoever. As I say, as I've said all along, we've got to let the police do their investigations. The Prime Minister's been very clear he will go public with anything that involves him, as he has done in this case as well. And then obviously the Sue Gray report will finalise after that's all concluded.
Are the Conservatives still a happy band behind their leader?
Well, my experience is my colleagues are always happy. We are focused on working for people across the UK and delivering for our constituents. And I have to say, when I've been talking to colleagues who are working both on local elections and in areas like mine that don't have elections this year, that's where people's focus rightly is and always has been. OK.
But were he to be involved, can I put to you, how many parties would be too many parties? Or events or gatherings, whatever you want to call them?
I think I've been on your show enough over the years, Nick, that you know I've never been drawn into hypotheticals. I'm not really going to start on that now. But look, my focus has been, and my support for the Prime Minister has been, because he is somebody who, as Prime Minister, has consistently got these big calls right, that are the right calls for our country, moving our country forward in a positive way, and that's why he'll continue to have my support. And
just lastly on this, of course, you'll be aware it's 1,001 days since the Prime Minister became the Prime Minister, since Boris Johnson. What's his greatest achievement in those 1,001 days, in your view, Secretary of State?
Yes, well, it's quite. I am aware because I was chairman of running the leadership campaign that he won to become leader back in 2019. Look, I think it's actually quite a tough call in a serious way, because this is a prime minister who delivered Brexit after 4 years of Parliament being in complete logjam and not getting anything done for the country and not delivering Brexit. He got that done. He's made the big calls right through the COVID pandemic and getting out of the COVID pandemic. That means our economy has been growing beyond most of our competitive nations, and arguably more than pretty much any. And even on something like Ukraine, he got the decisions right along with the Defence Secretary very, very early on, and arguably before others, to give that support to Ukraine that they so badly needed and has made such a difference. So, he consistently gets these decisions right, and I think we should be very proud of that as a country.
Staying with the Prime Minister, can you give us an update, Secretary of State? You'll be aware of the story on the front page of a number of the newspapers. This Pegasus spyware, reportedly the Prime Minister being told his Downing Street offices had been targeted with suspected infections using Pegasus, this hacking software that turns a phone into a remote listening device, it is claimed. Got any more on that?
Look, no, I'm sure you'd appreciate it. I'm not going to be commenting on security issues. People have seen the reports on that. Any sort of threat or risk to security of any part of government is one we take seriously.
Has there been a threat or risk as a result of this story?
But I'm not going to be commenting on a security issue.
But has there been a threat or a risk at any point through this?
I'm beyond the reports that people have seen. I'm not going to be making any comment on that today, I'm afraid, Nick.
You mentioned that you were chair of the party. Of course, you were also Immigration Minister under Theresa May prior to that. Interested to get your take on the Rwanda plan, as it's so-called, the Rwanda plan, not least in the light that it doesn't seem to be pleasing a lot of faith leaders. Secretary of State.
Well, look, yes, I was Immigration Minister. This is a really difficult area. And what was always one of the most challenging things was, how do you break the business model, this abhorrent business model that the people smugglers have? And again, this is an area where I think the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary have got this call right. I think this is a very, very good plan at a number of levels. One is, it does start to break that business model, and it starts to be much clearer to people that taking that treacherous journey and being conned into that by nefarious criminals isn't the right way to go, and breaks that criminal model and the modern slavery that it leads to. But also a humanitarian side of these people, therefore, do have the opportunity then to be in a safe place. And Rwanda's got a very, very good track record over the last few years of working with people and migration. We in the UK can be very proud. We've got a very, very strong record. 185,000 people have come to the UK through refugee and asylum schemes over the last few years. And I think at both humanitarian level and in a way that's right for the UK economy, this is a scheme that can work very well. I think it's innovative, and I think it is a very, very positive step forward.
When you were in post, or when you were part of the team, did you ever consider what I understand is known as outsourcing?
No, look, I have to say, when I did the job for about 6 months, and a lot of our focus at that time was about removing foreign national offenders, which we got good track record of doing, and we were doing the work across border force and with the military teams around starting to look at, and this is the thing, this has been a long time in process, looking at what more can we do to break this business model. I mean, this deal alone has been 9 months work for the Home Secretary with her colleagues out in Rwanda to get to the details of this, but it's been a long time the government's been looking at, and it is such a complicated area. How do you break this business model and work with a partner that you can rely on and trust to do this in the right way? And I think with Rwanda we have found a partner we can do that with.
But if I am unscrupulous enough that I would traffic people, risk their lives, putting them out on flimsy craft with ill-functioning outboard motors, I don't care whether they get into Rwanda or Romford, do I? As long as I get my 5, 10, 15,000 euros or whatever, I'll just push them out to sea, won't I, Secretary of State?
Well, from the people smugglers' point of view, I'm sure that will be their attitude. The reality, though, is that they sell this model to their victims on the basis of them being able to come to the UK, and that's why being able to be very clear. And one of the things that it's surprising how quickly things feed back through the chain. Being very clear with people that you will not be ending up in the UK. You will end up in Rwanda, which is much easier to get to in the first place. You don't need to take that treacherous process and take that risk of life. So it does start to break down the business model, because the victims, what they will see as their customers but actually are victims, will know that the process they're being sold is a false story in the first place. It just doesn't work. It isn't where they're going to end up, and therefore the model starts to break down. But this is part of a wider package. We've got the Nationality and Borders Bill that's been going through. There is no silver bullet to deal with the challenges of this kind of abhorrent illegal trade, but putting it together as a wider package is how we deal with it, and this is a very important part of that, and a positive one as well.
All right, and lastly, are you aware, what is the percentage of staff in your particular office that are back behind their desks or working in their respective offices, Secretary of State?
Well, in my department, it's slightly odd because my department's split 50% between London and Belfast. And we do have our staff back in the office, and we've actually just moved offices in Belfast to be in the centre of Belfast, much more accessible than we've been before, which I'm really proud of doing. And it's been great to have people back in the office. And you can see the staff themselves, the team, pleased to be back with each other. I think it's important to have people in the office, both from my commercial experience when I was running businesses before in Parliament, and as a Minister and as a Secretary of State. I think at a number of levels. One is you need that human interaction. I think people benefit from that, particularly new people coming into an organisation and younger people learning from those with experience. I think it is important, and that's why we've been encouraging it. And certainly in my department, I'm seeing in Belfast people are back in the office and enjoying being there.
But where is your number? You'll have seen that the Times has a list. The International Trade Department, 73% of desks taken up, while Foreign Office, I'm afraid, is 31%. Where might the Northern Ireland office be in that?
I think, well, if I take the Belfast side, because I say our offices are split, and this is based on the London base. I think in Belfast it's high, but as I say, different departments will have different needs. Well, I would expect it to be over 50%, but as I say, my staff are split, and this is based on London office space, and my staff are working a different way. But they are back in the office, and we're seeing more and more people coming back in. And different departments will have different needs, and it's hard to comment on any particular department, particularly ones I'm not in, because they will have staff who are potentially working remotely because they're working around the country. But look, as I say, I support the work Jacob Rees-Mogg is doing to see more people back in the office. I think is a good thing.
Grateful for your time today. Thank you. Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis appearing here on LBC, where at 8 o'clock the news is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, Ukraine says a Russian offensive to take control of the east of the country is underway. President Zelensky says a significant